I'm here in support of the 3 CPIM candidates who are fighting in a Mangalore district on the party symbol. And I believe that the candidature of the left parties and the CPIM are very important in a state like Karnataka, where it seems that big money politics has overtaken even minimum democratic norms and forms. I think it is an indication of the politics of both the Bharatiya Janata Party, who is running the government here, and the Congress Party, which is running the government in Delhi, that they have put up candidates whose main claim to fame is the money that they have. And it seems that the Karnataka elections are really elections of the real estate parties. And it is indeed a tragedy for Indian politics that the 2 major parties have reduced themselves to parties of real estate and behaving like agents of real estate. In this context, I think the fundamental issues of Karnataka, the issues of the peasants, the issues of the workers, these critical issues which affect the mass of people in Karnataka have really been thrown on the wayside by both these political parties and their campaign. When we come to Mangalore, there is an added dimension here, which is the dimension of communalization of politics. Mangalore in the last several years has seen an attempt to polarize voters on the basis of religion, which I believe is very, very unfortunate. We have seen in Mangalore also socially retrograde forces who have attacked basic liberties of free to citizenship, which have been guaranteed to us by our constitution. And therefore, in this context and in these elections, the left parties are mobilizing our own voters, our own bases, and reaching out to a wider section on the basis of alternative politics, which we believe are very necessary, not only for Karnataka, but for the future of democracy in this state and in this country. And therefore, in our campaign, we have been highlighting the basic issues of the people, the utter failure of the Bharatiya Janata Party government to project any alternative to what the Congress policies have been from the center. So both these parties basically are Tweedledee and Tweedledum as far as the policies concerning the people are concerned. There's really nothing to choose between them as far as policies for the people are concerned. And therefore, this is really a time to project alternative politics, which we are doing. One big issue here is that of food security. This APL, BPL divisions, which have been continued in Karnataka, have deprived a large section of poor people from the rights of food security. In a time of increasing inflation and price rise, this is a very critical issue before the people, and neither of these parties have any alternative to what is the situation today. The second big issue here is that of protection of the workers of the unorganized sector. You have a large section of unorganized workers living in the city and its surrounding areas, no social security for them, no housing for them, no basic amenities for them. In fact, the privatization of public health hospitals, 2 hospitals I think in Mangalore city itself, which is help privatization, help develop profiteering in the health sector, but have certainly dealt a blow to the people's interests in health. So these are some of the issues which we have been talking about in these elections, and I do hope the people of Karnataka will vote for the CPIM and for the left parties where we are standing, so as to have a strong voice in the Karnataka Assembly in the coming days. This time we are fighting 16 seats, the CPIM, and the CPI is fighting another 8 or 10 seats. So I certainly think that is that reflects an expansion of our base, and our base is basically among workers of the unorganized sector and in many of the rural areas of the Kisans. So I think basically we are the only political force in India today who have uncompromisingly stood by the poorer sections, the workers and the peasants. And therefore I believe that in today's situation where there is an alienation from politics because of the vast corruption in politics in the mainstream parties, I believe the left does provide an alternative to this politics, which I think is the only alternative if the interests of the poor are to be raised and fought for in parliamentary politics also. At present, we are not looking to be the main or the major whatever. We are looking to see and to ensure that the voice of the workers and peasants should be representative in the assembly with a strong presence in the assembly. That is what our aim in these elections is. We believe that Karnataka politics and the absence of a voice from the left in the Vidhan Sabha in Karnataka politics has led to a situation where people find they have very little choice. They are treated like a football between both these major parties, and I think that is the tragedy of Karnataka politics. And therefore for us to raise the voice of the people in the assembly, that is critical. And I think that is experienced in many other states where we have a limited presence, but that limited presence has a very strong impact on the politics of that state. So we are really basically looking for a representation and a strong representation in the assembly this time. Well, I believe that the terrible tragedy which has befallen lakhs and lakhs of depositors in West Bengal is a result of the joint venture between the Trinamool Congress and the Sarda Group and various other chit funds who are now, we are now being told by SEBI, have been doing this investment scheme totally illegally. And there can be absolutely no doubt in anybody's mind that this is a joint venture between the TMC and this group. There is now enough evidence which is available. The investigation is going on. But I believe that it would have been much more sensible if the government had been really serious about getting the depositors' money back, was to immediately pass an ordinance or a bill which would have ensured the confiscation of all the property that they have. And it is a confiscation of the property which has to be the immediate step which any government should have taken. Instead of that, they deliberately dilly-dallied, giving enough time for them to further manipulate their accounts. And this is really compromised on the interests of lakhs of poor people who in fact made those deposits only because they believed that this was a company which was promoted by the government. Because it was the government leaders who were the brand ambassadors of this country, of this company. And it was the TMC leaders who were sent to the Rajya Sabha, representing the interests not of Bengal but of this company. So it was in such a situation that the depositors were duped, and therefore the government is accountable, the government has to take the action. But what this government is saying, that they will raise 500 crores, 150 crores through taxes on cigarettes and encouraging people to smoke. I mean, this is really making a mockery of people's sorrow and vulnerability. When will that money come in? How will that money come in? What is a guarantee that that money is going to come? These are really basic issues which are being raised in West Bengal. It's a very critical question and a very relevant question which has been raised by the Supreme Court of India. As you know, the entire debate on the Lokpal, in which my party had taken a very firm position that unless the investigating agency in any case of corruption is fully autonomous of the government and under the institution of the Lokpal, you can never expect justice in any case of corruption in this country. And I think that is true whether it is the central investigative agencies or whether it is the investigative agencies of any of the states. And therefore, the importance of having an autonomous agency, investigating agency, in all cases of corruption has once again been proven by the shameful experience in the Colgate scam, where the Supreme Court of India has made the most scathing indictment of this government, of the law minister, and of the functioning of the CBI. And still, it is a tragedy and a shame for India that in spite of such scathing indictments, the minister continues in office. How can his continuance in office be anything except totally untenable? It is untenable for Ashwini Kumar to continue as law minister in this country. And yet, they want to brazen it through in the name of waiting for the final judgment. I mean, what are the standards that this UPA government is setting in this country? And how is it any different from what happened in Karnataka in the Bellary mining scam? So, these issues are there before the people of this country, and therefore, even now in this session, the Lokpal bill, which should have been passed 1 year ago, is still pending with the government. It has still not been brought to the Rajya Sabha for the simple reason that the government does not want to let go of its control of the CBI. Well, between the BJP and Congress, their politics is always a very personalized politics. We are not into personalized politics the way both these parties are. They both deserve each other. But the fact of the matter is that it is the government of India, it is the ruling regime which is responsible for the smooth functioning of Parliament. And if there is no smooth functioning of Parliament, it is because of the utter arrogance of the ruling party. They want to push through a JPC report, which is clearly a report full of bias and full of legal infirmities. How can you say in that report that so-and-so minister has misled the Prime Minister without giving that person the chance or the evidence that the Prime Minister was misled? Why the Prime Minister has not answered many of the critical questions which are there before the JPC? Why has the Finance Minister not answered many of the questions which were directly there before the JPC? So without the answer of the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister, how can the JPC come to any conclusion? So what Chacko has done is, he has leaked that report even before the JPC members have seen it. Now this is complete contempt of Parliament. It's contempt of a parliamentary institution which the standing committee the JPC consists of. Therefore, what we have said, this utter callousness and arrogance of this government to try and push through things in a manner just because it thinks it has the numbers, that is not conducive to letting Parliament function. Having said that, my party is committed to the smooth functioning of Parliament because we believe there are very, very important issues of the common people which need to be raised in Parliament. For example, the continuing food inflation, that is a very critical issue. The continuing food insecurity, the land grab which is going on, the attack on and assault on the rights of tribals as far as community resources are concerned. All these are very important issues. But between these two parties, this is the position of democracy in India. So outside you have money politics, and inside you have personalized politics. That is what, unfortunately, these two parties have reduced Indian, or have tried to reduce Indian democracy to.